local broadcast of NOVA has been made possible in part by Philadelphia Electric Company as a service to the public and a service to the environment we all share.
Tonight, a NOVA special.
Hello and welcome to the NOVA
Join
Quiz.
host Mark Summers and play along while contestants demonstrate their science knowledge.
The jet stream.
Also correct. Oh, time
Race
is up. We're
against
gonna
the
put it on
clock.
Less than 10. Okay, we will count that.
Answer tough questions.
What is H2SO4?
Sulfuric acid.
We're going to put the salt
And attempt tricky experiments.
like that.
Only one player can win. The NOVA Quiz.
Funding for NOVA's 20th anniversary season is made possible by Lockheed, America's aerospace company, supporting math, science, and engineering education for national technology leadership. And Johnson & Johnson, the signature recognized around the world for commitment to quality healthcare products for the entire family. Major funding for NOVA is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by annual financial support from viewers like you.
It's the NOVA Quiz, celebrating 20 years of science on public television. Here's the host of the NOVA Quiz, Mark Summers.
Hello and welcome to the NOVA Quiz. Tonight we celebrate NOVA's 20th anniversary on public television. NOVA viewers from all over the country will compete to answer challenging questions and perform exciting experiments from the world of science. We have lots of prizes, and one of our players will earn the right to go on a fabulous scientific expedition. So now let's meet tonight's 8 players. And let's get started by meeting our first 4 contestants. Let's start off by saying hello to Ben Ferruta. Now, you're from South Pasadena, and you're a high school principal, right?
Right.
You've actually flown into typhoons, I've been told.
Yes.
What
Yes,
kind
I
of
have.
experience is that?
Well, it's a very interesting experience because we go into the eye at that time, and we get in there, and we made all the weather measurements, transmitted it back to the Weather Central, and they would analyze the data, and it was a very exciting experience, but one that we were well trained for, and really a neat time for us.
This won't be as dangerous an experience.
I hope not.
Let me tell you that. Okay, Peter, you are from New York and an analytical chemist, correct?
That's right.
You look very young. How old were you when NOVA first went on the air?
I must have been about 4 when it premiered, though I do have a vague recollection of this new show called Nova that came out, so I guess I've been with it from the beginning, and I've grown up with it.
Welcome. Good luck to you this evening. Gail Treadwell from Beeville, Texas. You're a rancher and a retired teacher, and we understand you became interested in science all the way back in 1941.
Well, I read a book on astronomy, and it was a whole new world. I couldn't believe what was there, and it just fired up my interest in it.
Welcome to you as well. And Carlos Stevens from Glendale, Arizona, a key punch operator, still going to college, right?
That's correct. Hopefully, I'll be continuing on with my education, where I'll be studying engineering, and perhaps someday join up with NASA.
Well, we hope that works out for you. Welcome as well. Players in this round, you'll each be asked 2 questions. Get them right, you'll earn points. If you're wrong, any of your opponents can jump in and steal the question. At the end of the round, the 3 high-scoring players will advance to our next game. You drew lots before the show to determine your placement, and the first question is for you, Ben. It's worth 5 points. Good luck. A popular misconception is that rockets, like the V-1 and V-2, were first developed by the Germans during World War II. But in what country were the first rockets actually invented?
They were invented in China.
That is correct. 5 points for you, sir. Peter, for 5 points. In Asia, poisonous snakes kill more people each year than lions and tigers and bears all put together. The largest of those poisonous snakes can reach 18 feet in length. Name this snake.
The cobra?
I need more specific information.
Cobra. King cobra?
King cobra. That is correct. 5 points for you. Gail, first discovered by bomber pilots in World War II when their bombs flew off course, this narrow, fast-moving wind current races above the Earth at speeds up to 300 miles an hour. What are these wind currents?
The jet stream.
Also correct. 5 points for you. Carlos, our last 5-point question. Mars is called the red planet, but it could also be called the rust planet. What two elements that combine to form rust are responsible for Mars's reddish color?
Oxygen and iron.
You all did extremely well. 5 points across the board. We will go back to Ben. This time, each question is worth 10 points. Remember, those of you with the 3 highest scores will move on to the next part of the game. This global process is currently adding an inch a year to the Himalayan mountains. It created the mountains and volcanoes of America's Northwest and is bringing San Francisco and Los Angeles closer together. What is this geologic process?
It's called plate tectonics.
Once again, you are correct. 15 points for you. Peter, sunspots are regions of intense magnetic fields that produce a cooling of the sun's surface. Solar flares are produced by sunspots and emit 2 major kinds of electromagnetic radiation that can affect the Earth's atmosphere. One is X-rays. What is the other?
Gamma rays?
Incorrect. Anybody else can jump in. Yes, Ben.
Cosmic rays.
Also incorrect. Gail?
Plasma.
Carlos, would you like to try?
I'll venture a guess with alpha waves.
That is incorrect. The answer, ultraviolet radiation. That was the answer. We will now move over to Gail for 10 points. A skeleton discovered by Donald Johanson in Ethiopia and dubbed Lucy was an important link in understanding the evolution of humans. What is generally regarded as the critical anatomical difference between Lucy and the ape-like creatures that came before her?
The size of the skull.
That is incorrect. Anybody else? Carlos?
The fact that she could stand erect.
Correct. 10 points for you, sir. You now have 15. And this is our last 10-point question. Butterflies, birds, and whales have special navigational abilities thanks to a mineral in their bodies. This may serve as a compass, allowing them to use one of the Earth's properties to find their way around. What property is it?
Magnetism.
More specific information is needed. Time is up. Anybody else can jump in. Nobody knows? It's the Earth's magnetic field. Let me explain what happens. We now have 3 of the high scores moving on to the next game. So Carlos and Ben, you will move on. But we have a tie with Peter and Gail, and we need to break that tie. Here's what we do. I will ask you a question with a numerical answer. You'll have 5 seconds to write down your guess on the card in front of you. The player closest to the correct answer will go on to the next round. Here's the question. The largest reflecting telescope in the world is the Keck telescope, made of 36 individual mirrors. What is the diameter of the telescope in inches? You've got 5 seconds. Good luck. Time is up. Let's see who is closest, starting with you, Peter. What was your answer?
2,000.
2,000, you said. 2,000 inches. And Gail, you said 100 inches. The actual answer, 396. Gail, you will move on to the next round. Congratulations. Peter, tough competition. Hate to see you go, but you will receive the 7th edition of the McGraw-Hill Encyclopedia of Science and Technology. And thank you for playing the Nova Quiz.
Thank you.
We'll be back with our next round on the Nova Quiz, but first, here's a question for you at home from a very special friend of Nova.
Hi, I'm Gregory Hines. You know, one of the most important parts of the body to a dancer is not what's sweating, it's actually the brain. Now, let me tell you what goes on when I rehearse. Let's say I decide to do a shuffle step. So I get the idea in the thinking part of my brain, in an area called the motor cortex. The motor cortex forms an image of what it wants my body to do and sends the order to the cerebellum, which is responsible for coordinating movement. The cerebellum then sends the order along the nerve cells in my muscles and joints, which carry it out. Now for my question. The brain expends far more energy dealing with information from one of the senses than from all the other senses put together. Which of our senses is it?
Gregory will be back with the answer in a moment.
I'd like to say happy birthday and congratulations to Nova for 20 years on public television.
In terms of the brain, the sense that requires the most brain power is vision. Here's looking at you, Nova. Happy 20th anniversary.
Welcome back to the Nova Quiz. We now have 3 contestants, Carlos, Ben, and Gail. We drew lots during the break to determine the order. This time, you will go first, Carlos. Take a look at the board. We have less than 10, from 10 to 100, and more than 100. Behind each of these 7 cards are expressions that have numerical values. We want you to place these expressions one at a time under the range in which they belong. You'll have 30 seconds to do this, and when time's up, we will count how many you got right. That will be your score, Carlos. The 2 players with the highest scores at the end of the round will move on to the next game. Remember, you must place each card before you select the next one. And after you've placed them all, you can change anything until time is up. Understand what you have to do?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's set the clock for 30 seconds. Good luck. Go. Chromosomes in a human cell, is it less than 10, from 10 to 100, or more than 100? He says from 10 to 100. The next one, 5 to the 3rd power. Now remember, you only have 30 seconds, so you're going to have to move rather quickly. All 7 of those must be placed before that bell rings. Roman numeral D, you say, is more than 100. Now we're miles in 100 kilometers. We are down to 10 seconds. You only have about 6. You're going to have to hurry. We're down to electrons in an oxygen atom. And your last one, place it somewhere. Oh, time is up. You're going to put it on less than 10. Okay, we will count that. Let's take a look and see how you did. Under less than 10, you put known elements. Is that correct? That is incorrect. The answer is actually 108. We'll have to take that off the board. The value of pi, is that less than 10? Yes, 3.14. One correct answer, Carlos. Electrons in an oxygen atom. The answer is 8. You have 2 correct. Now, from 10 to 100, miles in 100 kilometers. Yes, 62.1. You have 3. Chromosomes in a human cell. Is that right? Yes, the answer is 46. You have 4 correct. 5 to the 3rd power. Is that more than 100? Yes, it is 125. And Roman numeral D, is that right? Yes, it is 500. You have 6 correct answers. Ben, let's take a look at the board. The 1930s, the 1940s, and the 1950s. The 7 items you are going to place, Ben, are names of inventions. We want you to determine in which decade these items became commercially available. You'll have 30 seconds to classify them as 1930s, 40s, or 50s. Ready? Go. Yes. Plexiglass would be the first one. Is that the 30s, 40s, or 50s? Ben decides it goes in the 40s. Velcro would be the second one. Once again, you're racing the clock. You have 20 seconds. All of those must be placed on the board before the 30-second time limit is up. If there's any time remaining, you can switch categories. You're up to automatic transmission. The next one would be transistor radio with just 8 seconds remaining. And finally, the Xerox copier. You can change anything you'd like. Time is up. You must stop right there. Okay, let's see how you did. Starting off with nylon. Was that in the 1930s? Yes, it was. In fact, it was in the mid-1930s. Very good. That is 1 correct. Let's move to the 1940s. How about automatic transmission? That is correct as well. Take a look at plexiglass. Was that the 40s? No, that was the mid-30s. You have 2 correct. Let's move over to the 1950s. The polio vaccine. Yes, that was right. You now have 3. The transistor radio, was that the 50s? Yes, you now have 4 correct. Velcro, was that the 50s? Yes, that is correct. You could tie Carlos if this is a right answer. Xerox copier. 1959, you are tied with Carlos. You have 6 as well, Ben. Gail. Let's take a look at the board. This time we have amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. The 7 items you're going to place are animals, Gail. We want you to determine in which category these animals belong. Remember, the 2 highest scores move on. 6 would put you in a tie. 7 guarantees you that spot. 30 seconds. Good luck. Go. A chameleon, is that an amphibian, a reptile, or a mammal? You must place that on the board before you pick up the next one. You say it's a reptile. We are now up to a horned toad, and now a mud puppy. Gail says that's an amphibian. You have 18 seconds. The sloth goes to mammals. A newt, you say, is an amphibian. The gecko is a reptile. You have 10 seconds, Gail. Remember, you have one more over here. You have a seventh here, Gail. You have the seventh one you must place. You've got 5 seconds. It is an aardvark. You say that's a mammal. And you can switch anything. No, time is up. A little frustrated there, Gail, but you caught that last one, and I'm glad you did. Remember, no, I'm glad you're not nervous. 6 to tie, 7 to guarantee that spot. In the category amphibian, you put mud puppy. Is that correct? Yes, it is. 1 for 1. How about a newt? Yes, that is correct. You now have 2. Over in the category reptiles, you put the chameleon. Is that correct? Yes, 3 for 3, Gail. How about the horned toad? Yes, 4 for 4. Take a look at the gecko. Is that a reptile? 5 for 5 right now. If you get either one of these correct, we will have a 3-way tie. Both of them will break that tie with Ben and Carlos. In the category of mammals, a sloth. Is that correct? Yes, you now have 6. We have a 3-way tie. Will we break that tie? Aardvark, is that a mammal? You got all 7 correct, Gail. Our round is over, at least for you, Gail. You will be moving on, but Ben, Carlos, we have a tie. Here is your question. What is the average gestation period of an elephant in days? Good luck. Time is up, pens down. Let's take a look at your answer, Carlos. You said
370.
370. And Ben, you said
200.
200. The answer is 645. Carlos, you will join Gail in the next round.
Thank you.
Ben, I always hate to say goodbye to somebody. We have to do it to you. You will receive the Palm Top PC donated by Hewlett-Packard, along with the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology, and our gratitude for joining us on the Nova Quiz. We'll be back in just a moment with our head-to-head match between Carlos and Gail. But first, see if you at home can answer this question from a very special Nova fan.
Hello, I'm Ted Koppel. I obviously owe a big debt of gratitude to the person who invented television. But saying thanks isn't that simple. A lot of scientists contributed to this remarkable invention, including American Philo T. Farnsworth. Experiments leading to television began back in the 19th century, but progress was slow. Sometimes war delayed the work, and sometimes the interruptions were more mundane. During Prohibition, Farnsworth's lab was raided by police, who suspected he was building a still to make bootleg whiskey. That still turned out to be his experimental television. Now, for my question. The U.S. Secretary of Commerce appeared in an experimental telecast by AT&T in 1927. That man was later to become the President of the United States. Who was that man? I'll be back with the answer.
Congratulations, Nova, for 20 years of great moments on public television.
The first future president to appear on television was Herbert Hoover. The first sitting president on television was Franklin Roosevelt at the 1939 World's Fair. I'd like to say happy birthday and congratulations to Nova for 20 years on public television. Happy 20th anniversary, Nova.
Welcome back to the Nova Quiz. We're down to 2 players, Gail and Carlos. This round will determine which one of you will return at the end of the show for our grand prize championship playoff. You won the toss during the break, so Gail, you will go first. In front of me are the letters N-O-V-A. Behind each letter are 6 questions. Pick a letter and I will ask you those 6 questions. You'll have 4 seconds to answer each one. After your turn, Carlos will pick a different group and get 6 different questions. The player with the most questions right moves on to our championship playoff. Are you ready? Pick a letter, Gail.
The O looks good.
The O looks good. Let's hope it is for you. First question. Remember, 4 seconds to answer. While each snowflake is unique, all snowflakes share a pattern based on which geometrical shape?
A hexagon.
That is correct. 1 right. They are so efficient at tilling, they turn up the entire top inch of the earth approximately every 10 years. What organism does this?
The earthworm.
Correct again. You now have 2 right answers. What prehistoric creature was as long as a school bus, had teeth the size of bananas, and arms about the length of a human's?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
3 for 3. Nice job, Gail. Number 4. When Einstein made his famous comment that God doesn't play dice with the universe, he was expressing doubts about what theory of matter?
The theory of relativity.
Incorrect. The answer, quantum mechanics. 3 right, 1 wrong. 2 remaining questions, Gail. The asteroid belt can be found between the orbits of the last of the inner planets and the first of the outer planets. Name these 2 planets.
Mars and Jupiter.
Right again. You now have 4 correct. This is your final question. What would you coat iron with in order to galvanize it?
Zinc.
Right again. 5 out of 6. Nicely done, Gail. Carlos, your goal is to get at least 5 to tie, 6 to move on. N, V, or A?
We'll go with the A.
The A. Yes. Good luck. If you tossed a coin heads up 9 times in a row, what are the odds you'll toss it heads on the 10th toss?
2 to 1.
The answer is 50-50, even odds. Incorrect. You must get each of these correct in order to move on. 1 wrong, Gail moves on. Almost all marsupials are native to Australia. What is the only marsupial native to America?
The possum.
Correct. What is the acid famous in old murder mysteries which leaves the odor of bitter almonds?
Sulfuric acid.
Incorrect. The answer is prussic acid, and that means that Gail will move on to the next part of the game. Congratulations. Carlos, I'm sorry you don't win, but you will receive a telescope and a pair of binoculars donated by Bausch & Lomb, along with a Palm Top PC and the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology, and we hope you enjoyed participating in the Nova Quiz.
Thank you.
We'll be back with 4 new contestants to look for an opponent for Gail, but right now we have a special question just for you, our home viewers. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Kenny Loggins, and now for my question. Sea otters almost never leave the water. They even sleep while floating on their backs. Okay, sometimes you may spot one floating on his back with a rock balanced on his belly. So why does he do that?
Kenny will be back with the answer in a moment.
I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary on public television.
Sea otters also eat while floating on their backs, and the rock is there to help them crack open the clams and the crabs they're having for lunch. I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
Welcome back to the Nova Quiz. We have 1 contestant for our Grand Championship playoff. Her name is Gail, but we need another, and that player will be one of these 4, so let's meet them right now, starting off with Bob Michaels from Santa Barbara, California, a freelance geologist. Now, how do you charge? By the job, by the hour? How does that work?
It varies by the hour, by the job. Every job is different, so you have to be flexible.
Welcome to the Nova Quiz, and we have Doris Beers from Monrovia, California, a graphic artist. 20 years ago, what were you doing when Nova was just getting started?
I was demonstrating in the streets, full-fledged hippie, bell-bottoms, long straight hair, whole deal.
Okay, and we have Fred Brusades from Wilmington, North Carolina, a retired chemist. How did you get started with your interest in science?
Well, Mark, when I was a young boy, I sent some labels of cocoa malt to Buck Rogers, and they sent me a map of the solar system. And it was so beautiful, I never lost my interest in science.
Welcome to the show. And Russell Giles from Los Angeles, an event planner. What does an event planner do?
Well, Mark, one of the most recent events I've worked on was the America's Cup yacht race down in San Diego.
Sounds like a lot of fun and a lot of work as well. Welcome to the Nova Quiz. Players, in this round, you'll each be asked 2 questions. At the end of the round, the 3 high-scoring players will advance to the next game. You drew lots before the show to determine your placement, and the first question is for you, Bob. It's worth 5 points. The Hindenburg used hydrogen as its lifting gas. Its combustibility contributed greatly to the Hindenburg disaster. Since that time, Almost all lighter-than-air blimps use a different gas. For 5 points, what is it?
Helium.
That is correct. Doris, in the past, a global freeze and volcanoes have been proposed by scientists to explain the disappearance of dinosaurs. But in 1980, scientists came up with a new theory after they found significant amounts of the rare element iridium in a limestone gorge in Italy. What is this theory to explain the dinosaurs' extinction?
That a large meteorite hit the Earth and, well, hit the Earth.
That is correct, the impact theory. You are right. 5 points for you as well, Doris. We'll move to Fred. One of the largest structures on Earth is a 1,250-mile-long colony that is made up almost entirely of the skeletons of tiny dead organisms. This richest and most complex of marine ecosystems is found in the southern hemisphere. What is it called?
Diatomaceous earth?
That is incorrect. Anybody else can jump in. Yes, Doris?
The Great Barrier Reef.
That is right. 5 points added to your score. Russell, this is our last 5-point question. When lightning cuts through the air, it creates a special compound by turning molecules of 2 oxygen atoms into molecules of 3 atoms. This compound is also found in the upper atmosphere, where it absorbs ultraviolet rays from the sun. What is it?
Ozone.
Correct for 5 points. We'll go back to Bob now. This time, each question is worth 10 points. Remember, the 3 highest scores move on. Ants, which actually evolved from wasps, have lived on Earth about 100 million years. But one insect, the ancestor of the termite, has been around even longer, about 300 million years. What familiar insect is this?
The cockroach.
10 points added to your score. You take the lead now with 15. Doris, for 10 additional points. In a classic example of a food chain, sea plankton are eaten by krill, krill by penguins, and penguins can be eaten by whales. Then, when whales die and decay, they provide nourishment for other organisms. But what is the ultimate source of energy for nearly all food?
The sun.
The sun is correct. You have added 10 points. You now have 20. Fred, for 10. A rocket during liftoff is an example of Sir Isaac Newton's third law of motion. What does that law state?
It's the law of reaction. Action and
Time is
reaction.
up. Bob.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
10 points for you, Bob. You now take the lead with 25 points. Our final 10-point question is for you, Russell. It is the 5th largest known planet in our solar system. Temperatures on its surface can vary more than 260 degrees Fahrenheit. The air is 78% nitrogen. What planet is it?
Venus.
Incorrect. Yes, Bob.
Earth.
That is right. 10 points for you. Those with the 3 highest scores move on. And that means that Bob, Doris, and Russell, you 3 will be moving on to the next round. Congratulations. Fred, I'm sorry we have to say goodbye to you. Tough competition one more time, but you will receive the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology, and thank you for playing the Nova Quiz. We'll be back with our next game on the Nova Quiz, but first, another science question from a special guest.
Hi, I'm Harry Connick Jr. Do you remember the very first time you heard your own voice on a tape recorder? You probably didn't recognize it, right? That's because, to you, the sound of your own voice is conducted by the bones of your skull and jaw, which resonate to the vibrations of your voice. Solids, like bone, are excellent conductors of sound. But the voice that other people hear when you speak travels through air, which is not the best conductor. It alters the timbre and removes some of the richness that only you get to hear. Now for my question. What part of the ear changes the physical vibrations of sound into nerve impulses that the brain can interpret?
Harry will be back with the answer in a moment.
Well, I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
That organ is called the cochlea, which comes from the Greek meaning snail because it's a tiny fluid-filled tube that's coiled up like a snail shell. I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary on public television.
Welcome back to the Nova Quiz. We now have 3 contestants. Russell, you go first. Let's take a look at the board. We have length, weight, and capacity. We're going to give you the names of 7 units of measurement. You need to determine whether they measure length like a mile, weight like a pound, or capacity like a gallon. You'll have 30 seconds to do this. Good luck. Go. His first one is an angstrom. Is that length, weight, or capacity? Remember, Russell, you only have 30 seconds to place all 7 up there on the board. A grain, he places that under weight. Next would be a gill. Is that length, weight, or capacity? We are down to about 15 seconds, and you still have 4 more to place. A hogshead, you say, is capacity. A pica, weight. A cubit, we're down just to about 5 seconds. You're going to have to hurry with the stone. That's weight. Anything else you'd like to change? Time is up. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see how you did. Under length, you only put 1. You put cubit. Is that correct? Yes, it is. 1 for 1. Under the category of weight, let's start off with stone. Is that right? Yes, it is. It's a British weight. 14 pounds is what it is, Russell. You have 2 for 2. Grain, is that weight? Yes, it's based on wheat. You have 3 correct answers. How about a pica? Ooh, that's length. That's a printer's measure. That one comes off the board. 3 remaining under the category of capacity. How about an angstrom? It is length. That comes down off the board. How about a gill? Is that capacity? 4 fluid ounces. The 5th one, hogshead. Is that capacity? It equals 63 U.S. gallons. You have 5 correct, Russell. Bob, let's go to the board. This time we have medicine physiology, physics, and chemistry. We're going to give you the names of 7 Nobel Prize-winning scientists, Bob. You need to determine in which of these fields they received their award. 5 is currently the number to beat. You have 30 seconds. Good luck. Go. First one is Shockley. Is it physics, chemistry, or medicine physiology? Fleming would be the second one. Once again, we're racing against the clock. Down to 20 seconds to place the remaining up there on the board. Pavlov, you said under medicine and physiology. Fermi, you put under physics. Next would be Marconi, also under physics. Nobody just yet under chemistry. You may want to go to number 6. You only have 7 seconds remaining. Röntgen, you put under physics. And finally, Pauling, under chemistry. You have 2 seconds left. Anything you want to change? Time is up. Sorry, Bob. Let's see how you did. Under medicine physiology, you put Shockley. Is that correct? That is incorrect. It is physics. The transistor was what he got his award for. You knew that, didn't you? Pavlov, is that medicine physiology? Yes, that is right. You do have 1 correct answer. Under the category of physics, Marconi, is that correct? Yes, that is. You now have 2 correct answers. How about Röntgen? Yes, also in physics. You now have 3 correct answers. That was for X-rays. How about Enrico Fermi? Nuclear reaction, you now have 4 correct. You could tie Russell right now, or perhaps go ahead. Under the category of chemistry, Pauling, is that right? Yes, it is. You are tied with Russell. Will you take the lead with Sir Alexander Fleming? Oh, sorry about that. That was medicine physiology. We have a tie. Doris, you could break that tie. Let's go to the board for you. Solid, gas, and liquid. The 7 items you're going to place, Doris, are elements from the periodic table. We want you to classify these elements as to whether they are solid, liquid, or gas at room temperature. Great competition today. They both have 5. You could guarantee a spot in the next round if you get 6. 30 seconds on the clock. Good luck. Go. First one for you is argon. Remember, at room temperature, is it a gas, a liquid, or a solid? Bromine. That would be the next one, followed by fluorine. Krypton would be the next one, and we have 15 seconds with 3 more to place on the board. Mercury, you place under liquid. We have neon under gas, and finally barium. With 5 seconds. Anything you'd like to change? Take a look. Time is up. Let's see how you did. Under solid, you placed barium. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Krypton, you said, is a solid. Is that correct? No, that is a gas. We'll take that off the board. Under gas, you placed neon. Is that a right answer? Yes, it is. You now have 2 correct. Argon, is that a gas? You have 3 right. Fluorine, is that a gas? Yes, you now have 4 correct answers. One of these would tie you. We could have a 3-way tie. Perhaps you will guarantee your spot. Let's see if you do. Mercury, is that a liquid? Yes, it is. We have a 3-way tie. Bromine, is that a liquid? Yes, you have guaranteed your spot there, Doris. Nicely done. We do have to break a tie with Bob and with Russell. Good luck. Here's the question. The world's tallest waterfall is Angel Falls in Venezuela. To the nearest foot, how tall is it? You've got 5 seconds. Good luck. Time is up. Let's see who is closest, starting with Russell. Your answer is 853 feet. Bob, your answer is 3,000 feet. The correct answer, 3,212. Bob, you move on to the next round with Doris. Russell, congratulations. We are proud to have you here on the Nova Quiz. You will receive the Palm Top PC and the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology, and of course our gratitude for joining us tonight on the Nova Quiz. Congratulations.
I had a good time. Thanks.
We'll be back in just a moment with our head-to-head match between Bob and Doris, but it's that time once again for our home viewers to test their own science IQ.
Hi, I'm Lynn Redgrave. For some years now, I've been concerned about the survival of our majestic birds of prey. Have you ever watched one of our birds of prey soaring and swooping and wondered, how do they do that? Well, scientists have been wondering the same thing for a long time. But a bird's wing is such a complex and intricate machine that science still cannot fully explain how it works. One thing we do know is that the shape of the wing is built on basic aerodynamic principles, in particular Bernoulli's principle. A bird's wing, like an airplane's, is curved on the top and more or less flat on the bottom. With the greater distance to travel over the curve, the air molecules on top are more spread out, so the air pressure is lower. The greater pressure on the bottom exerts an upward force called lift, and lift allows a hawk to make those lazy circles in the sky. And now, my question. The American peregrine falcon came dangerously close to extinction in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. What man-made substance was primarily responsible for their decline?
Lynn will be back with the answer in a moment.
Congratulations, Nova, on 20 years of great moments on PBS.
The substance that almost wiped out the American peregrine falcon was the insecticide DDT. And thankfully, the falcon has made a comeback since DDT stopped being used in the late 60s. I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
Welcome back to the Nova Quiz. We're down to 2 players, Bob and Doris. This game will determine which one of you will compete against Gail in our Grand Prize Championship playoff. You won the toss, Bob, so you'll begin. There are 2 letters left. Which one would you like to pick?
V.
V, right over here. Okay, 6 questions, 4 seconds to answer each one. You'll need to set your mark. Good luck. There is an infinity of prime numbers. How many of those prime numbers are even?
1.
That is a correct answer, but I believe time is up. Is that correct? Okay, we have to count that as a wrong answer, Bob. I'm sorry. Snakes are native to every continent except one. Which one?
Antarctica.
That is correct. You have 1 right, 1 wrong. The deadliest poison known has the appropriate chemical symbol Pu. What is that element?
Plutonium.
Right again. You now have 2 correct. Launched on August 20th, 1977, what was the first space probe designed to study all 4 giant outer planets of our solar system?
Voyager.
Right again, you now have 3 correct. What process, from the Greek meaning to wrap around, allows food to get into your stomach even when you're standing on your head? Time is up. Peristalsis. You knew it was on the tip of your tongue. 2 incorrect. Okay, you currently have 3 right. This would be your last question. What common household flavoring agent is derived from a member of the orchid family?
Vanilla.
Right again, you have 4. That is the mark you set. Doris, you must answer at least 4 to tie. 5 would move you on to the next round against Gail. Good luck. Thick-skinned and nearly hairless. Which vegetarian marine mammal was once thought to be a mermaid?
Manatee.
That is right. You have 1. When 2 lines intersect, what is the total number of degrees in the angles they form?
2 lines intersect. Can't be more than 180.
Incorrect. The answer is 360. By observing an outbreak of an illness that primarily affected dairymaids, Edward Jenner got the idea for his vaccination against what dread disease?
Smallpox.
Right. You now have 2 correct. You must get 4 to tie. Poor Bill is dead. We see his face no more. For what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. What is H2SO4?
Sulfuric acid.
You have 3 right answers. Right on this one, you will go to a tie. Both of these correct, you'll move on against Gail. What did Dutch inventor Cornelius Drebbel successfully demonstrate for the first time in the Thames River in 1620?
That things float.
Incorrect. It was the submarine. In order to go for a tie-breaking question, you must answer this right. Otherwise, Bob will go head-to-head with Gail. In 1986, the European Space Agency spacecraft Giotto reached what moving celestial target?
Oh, reached.
The answer was Halley's Comet, and that means Bob moves on. Congratulations. Thank you. Doris, you had great competition and you played magnificently, but you will receive a telescope, a pair of binoculars, along with a Palm-Top PC, the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology, and we really hope you enjoyed participating in the NOVA quiz.
I did a great deal.
Thank you so much for being here. Well, Bob, you're going to the finals, and I would like you to say hello to your opponent, Gail. Join me up here, Gail. There we go. We're going to find out which one becomes tonight's grand champion and the winner of a fabulous scientific expedition right after this question for you at home.
Hello, I'm Robert McNeil.
And I'm Jim Lara.
Our question is appropriately enough about telecommunications, which didn't start with the television, telephone, or even the telegraph. They all take their root from the Greek word tele, meaning far or distant. Smoke signals were probably the first long-distance communication system humans used.
In early times, messages could only travel as fast as the messenger. It took 5 months for Ferdinand and Isabella to find out what happened to Columbus. It took 2 weeks for Europe to get the news about Lincoln's assassination. But with the development of lasers, fiber optics, and communications satellites, news now travels at the speed of light.
Now for our question. The concept of a global TV satellite was first proposed back in 1945 by a popular science fiction writer who later gave us 2001, A Space Odyssey. Who was that writer?
Jim will be back with the answer in a moment.
I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
The science fiction writer who proposed TV satellites was Arthur C. Clarke, and an article in the journal Wireless World.
Jim and I would like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
Welcome back. Here we are with Gail and Bob, our 2 quiz champions. Now, the 2 of you will compete in our playoff to see which one of you will go on a scientific expedition. Here's how we play. We're going to set up a chemistry and a physics experiment. Your job will be to predict what will happen. You'll score 5 points for each correct prediction. Now, here are 4 common items you find in your kitchen. We have sugar, instant coffee, salt, and pepper. Take a look at this contraption here. We have a beaker filled with water. Attached are copper plates connected to electric cables, which are in turn connected to those balloons over there. Now, I'm going to turn the power on because with the power off, nothing happens. Water is conducting some electricity right now, but not enough to explode those balloons. But if you add any one of these substances, or one in particular, only one, enough electricity will be conducted to explode the balloon. Your challenge is to write down that substance. Which one will make those balloons explode? Write down your answers now. Okay, Bob, are you done? And Gail, you are done. Let's take a look and see what Bob wrote down. You said the answer is salt. Gail, what did you write down?
Salt.
You said salt. Here's what I'd like you to do. Put on your safety glasses. All of a sudden, I feel like Sally Jesse Raphael here, okay? You said salt will make those balloons explode. Let's see if that is the correct answer. I'm going to put the salt in the container right now, and it may just take a second if that is correct. That is the right answer. Congratulations. You both get 5 points. What this means is that salt carries an electrical charge. Simple table salt is actually a combination of two chemicals, sodium, which carries a plus charge, and chloride, which carries a minus charge. So when I put the salt in the water, the charged sodium and chloride atoms, they separated, allowing electrical current to flow between the plates, causing the balloons to explode, and explode they did. Now we're going to test an important law of physics in this experiment. Join me over here if you would. Here's a dart gun with a laser beam that helps you aim accurately. At the exact moment the trigger is pulled, this dart will fire, and that balloon, 10 to 12 feet away, will begin to drop. The balloon is filled with confetti and weighs less than a pound. And your challenge is to decide, according to the laws of physics, which of the 4 areas the gun should be aimed at so that you hit the balloon. Do you do it at A, directly at the balloon, B, C, or D? Please write your choice down now. All right, time is up. Bob, I need to take a look at your answer first, please. You said it is B. Gail, what did you say? You said it's D. Both of those are incorrect. You must aim it directly at A. Like that. No points this time. This experiment proves a very basic law in physics that was discovered by Galileo, and it's called the law of falling bodies. And it states that regardless of weight, all objects fall at the same rate. So because the dart and the balloon fell at the same rate, the only way to hit the balloon was to aim directly at it. Now, no points for this experiment, but you both get 5 points for the last one. You'll take those points with you into our Supernova Challenge, where we find out which one of you will be going on that scientific expedition. But first, here's a question for you at home from another Nova fan.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Teagues. As a model, I've been photographed more than 100,000 times. But if I had been modeling in the early 19th century, I wouldn't have had time to pose for a fraction of those pictures. In 1826, when photography first began, it took an entire day, a full 8 hours of strong sunlight to expose a negative. And now for my question. 13 years after that first photograph was taken, a Frenchman named Daguerre patented a sensational new process that allowed photographers to get a detailed photograph after only 15 to 30 seconds of exposure. Daguerre used a sheet of copper as his film, he used mercury vapor as his developer, and he used something he found in his kitchen to fix the image. What common substance did Daguerre use as his fixer?
Cheryl will be back with the answer in a moment.
I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
What common substance did Daguerre use as his fixer? He used common table salt, and the result was called a daguerreotype. I'd like to wish Nova a very happy 20th anniversary.
Welcome back to the Supernova Challenge. Let me explain how this works. One of the most important skills in science is observation. So, we're going to show each of you a different picture which contains 10 mistakes. For instance, like this. The man is sitting in a barber chair and his hair is being cut with the saw. So you'd want to circle the saw, okay? Bob, you'll go first. You'll have 45 seconds to circle and explain as many specific mistakes as you can, up to 10. I will count how many circles you make, but we won't tell you what's correct until time is up. You get 5 points for each mistake you find, and those points will be added to your score from our experiment round. You both have 5 points from that round. The player with the highest score will win a scientific expedition. Now remember, in order to get points, you must explain what's wrong with what you circled. Bob, join me over here. We're going to put 45 seconds on the clock. Go.
E equals mc squared is correct.
That's 1.
That is not the formula for hypotenuse of a right triangle. It's a 3, 4, 5.
That's
2. 1 kilogram is not heavier than 3 pounds.
That's 3.
Let's see. Ice is not 32 degrees C. There's no such thing as April 31.
That's 5.
The little hand is in the wrong position for the big hand, for
That's
sure.
6.
Wrong level of liquid.
That's 7.
It's not a quadratic formula. That's wrong.
That's
We
8.
have a quadratic formula. Oh, look at that. There's only 1 hinge on the door. And, oh, no, there's 2 hinges, but there sure are on the wrong
I will count
side.
that as 9. Time is up. Okay, Bob, let's see how you did. Start off up here in the right-hand corner. You said the clock was off, that little hand should be directly on the 3 or the 4. That is correct. That is 1 right answer. You said April 31st, of course, doesn't exist. That is 2 correct answers. You said 32 degrees centigrade is incorrect. You are right. It should have been Fahrenheit. 3 correct answers. 3 pounds is heavier than 1 kilogram. That would be your 4th correct answer. You said that this level up here was higher than this level. That would be your 5th correct answer. Now, you made some comment that this was an inadequate or an incorrect equation. That is not right. That is a correct equation. Over here, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That would be your 6th correct answer. E equals mc squared. You pointed that out. That would be number 7. Now, over here, first you said there's only 1 hinge. That isn't right. And then you corrected yourself and said the hinges are here and the handle's there. That would be number 8. Now, let's find out the 2 that you missed. And that would be over here. If you notice, Einstein is spelled incorrectly. And the cork here would be over to the side because of surface tension. 5 points for each correct answer. 5 times 8 is 40. Added to the 5 points you have from the experiment round, you now have 45 points. Congratulations, Bob. Gail, join me over here. In order to tie Bob, you must get 8 correct, 9 if you are to take that scientific expedition. Take a look at your picture. You have 45 seconds. Good luck. Go.
Bananas have the orange one on it. Columbus sights the moon. He didn't have a telescope, a binocular.
That's 2.
The table does not have a leg there.
That's 3.
The checkerboard is not right. The black square is supposed to be in the corner.
That's 4. You have about 15 seconds.
Does not have rings.
That's 5.
The TV is not plugged in.
That's 6.
The piano. Oh, the moon doesn't have a star in it. It can't
7.
happen.
Ooh, time is up. Gail, you needed at least 8 to tie. You only circled 7, so that means that Bob has won the Supernova Challenge. Congratulations, Bob. Nicely done. Thanks. Gail, you played so well. Let's take a look. Let's take a look and see what Gail did here. You said the TV set was not plugged in. That is a correct answer. You said it said Mars, but that was Saturn. That would be your 2nd correct answer. You said we need to add 1 more black. That would be right. There are only 7. There needed to be 8. That would be number 3. You said that there was no leg for the table. That would be number 4. You mentioned here about Columbus not having a telescope. They weren't invented at the time. That is correct. That would be number 5. You made some mention here about an orange banana. Actually, bananas grow up. They don't grow down, so that would be an incorrect answer. Number 6, you also mentioned that there wouldn't be a star there because of the moon would actually really be there. So that would be your, let's see, that would be your 6th correct answer. Now, the ones that you missed would be over here. There are no black keys over there on the piano. The pencil over here is hanging over. That would have dropped off. And then over here, the poles on the horseshoe magnets are incorrect, so that would have finished it up for you. You really played so well. I'm sorry you didn't win, but you will receive a laptop computer from Digital Equipment Corporation along with the Encyclopedia of Science and Technology and the Palm Top PC. And ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Gail, our runner-up. Nicely done. Bob, join me down here. Congratulations. In addition to all those prizes, you've also just won a VHS camcorder donated by JVC, and our grand prize of the day, a scientific expedition for 2 that you can select from more than 100 destinations around the world, donated by Earthwatch. We know you're going to have a great time, and you're going to learn a lot on that expedition. We hope you had a great time with us tonight. I think we all learned that science can be fun. Now, don't forget, tune into Nova this season as we continue to celebrate our 20th anniversary on PBS. I'm Mark Summers. We hope you enjoyed taking the Nova quiz. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Thursday night on the Waterways explores the history of the Ohio River, beginning in industrial Pittsburgh through the words of songwriters, horse breeders, and barge handlers. That's On the Waterways, Thursday at 8 p.m. Now stay tuned for Chapters 3 and 4 of Death, The Trip of a Lifetime, next on TV 12.
Funding for NOVA is provided by Johnson & Johnson, the signature recognized around the world for commitment to quality healthcare products for the entire family. And Lockheed, America's aerospace company, supporting math, science, and engineering education for national technology leadership. Major funding for NOVA is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by annual financial support from viewers like you. Teachers, educational institutions, and organizations can now purchase this program and many other NOVA programs from the NOVA 20th anniversary season for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. To order a video cassette, call 1-800-255-9424. NOVA is a production of WGBH Boston.
This is PBS.
Next time on NOVA. What happened to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? Forensic anthropologist Clyde Snow tries to solve this mystery in South America, where he has unearthed promising remains. Bits of bones and cowboy boots provide important clues. Can DNA fingerprinting resolve the puzzle? Will we finally lay to rest the mystery that shrouds their legend?
Of NOVA has been made possible in part by Philadelphia Electric Company as a service to the public and a service to the environment we all share.